Since 2013, Newlook Capital has been investing in industrial service businesses where they provide a technical service, where that service is recurring and contracted in nature, and probably most important, where that service is code mandated and has been deemed an essential service, which has actually been very important over the last few months. Oliver Blum, Managing Director at Newlook Capital, has successfully led the team that sources those acquisitions and then works closely with our operating partners afterwards to grow that recurring revenue line. Oliver, tell us a little bit about how you source those acquisitions, and then we can talk about how you work with those operating partners afterwards.
Thanks, Elroy. We get the acquisitions referred to us a lot by our operating partners themselves, guys that know other guys in the business who are interested potentially in selling a part of their company and teaming up with us. So that's always a great way to get in touch with people. It's also a way that we're really not competing with anybody else. It's a unique relationship that we can start through them. We also do the old-fashioned cold calling. We are out at trade events, less lately because of COVID, but we're working the phones pretty hard all the time. And we also work with some brokers that are specialized in the kinds of industries that we're looking after. So, one of the biggest jobs for us is to make sure that we've got a steady amount of deal flow coming to us that we can then be pretty deliberate about what to pursue.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think I always remember that when we get introduced by industry colleagues to other people in the industry, I think that goes a long way just regarding our reputation in the marketplace and what our operating partners think about us as partners and then can introduce us to their industry colleagues. I think that really helps a lot. When we have made an investment in an operating partner, how do you work with them afterwards, after the deal has been completed and we've acquired that investment? How do you engage with those operating partners? How often? And what types of engagement do you use?
So our approach is to be consistent throughout the entire period of an acquisition with our operating partners, and then to work with them afterwards. So it's me and usually Mike Harrison together. They have a consistent person that they talk to, which is me, leading up to the deal and then post-close. Post-close, we almost immediately sit down and work out what a good 30, 60, 90-day plan for the company looks like during that transition period, as we take on some primary roles for certain things like some of the cash management, some of the financial aspects, control of the money, so to speak. But then we also work with them on setting up a good communication framework once a month for a management call, which is actually fairly deliberate, and it's not just around what the financial results looking backward are, but it's key performance indicators built on a balanced scorecard that takes into consideration things with customer and market development, their people development and training, and some of the other quality initiatives that they might be pursuing in their business. And they're really designed to be forward-looking so that we have a good forward look at what the business might be doing over the next 90 days, let's say.
No, and I always appreciate Oliver and his team. They spend a lot of time talking to our operating partners before the acquisition's even made about how they're going to work together. And I think it gives our potential operating partners a better idea of what Newlook would look like as a partner. I think we at Newlook have focused a lot on being good partners. And I think the fact that we spend so much time setting that expectation with our operating partners before we do an acquisition, I think that really helps a lot afterwards. And it always helps when we can refer back to other operating partners we already have to let potential vendors know what it would be like to work with Newlook.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do that every time. If it isn't a referral made by one of our operating partners, I always make our existing operating partners available to anyone considering selling a portion of their business to us so they can talk to them. And I'm not going to be on that call with them. I'll let them have that conversation directly amongst each other, operating partner to potential operating partner, so that they can ask those questions and say, this is what Oliver's telling me it's going to be like.
Right.
What is it really like? And the reality is there's a consistency there that we work hard to maintain. The whole approach is a light touch on operations.
Yeah.
We're not there to run their business. We're there to work with them, to develop some higher level strategies, to make sure that I'm playing my role, they're playing their role, and setting those definitions, those boundaries, and also setting a framework for really good communication with them. That's the key.
No, and I think I always appreciate the job that you guys do around those monthly management calls. And it's important that you guys recognize that you're not there to actually run the business on a day-to-day basis. The management team that's in place absolutely does that on a day-to-day basis. And I think they always appreciate input from the Newlook team on some high-level strategies, finance arrangements. But I think it's important to communicate that in that lead-up period with potential vendors, that it is a light touch around the day-to-day management. Yeah. Oliver, Newlook always takes a majority interest in these acquisitions that we do, but at the same time, we want to keep our operating partners aligned. How has that worked for you, and how have those discussions gone when you're explaining to a potential acquisition that we're majority control, but we really depend on them and their vested interest for that ongoing day-to-day management?
So it's really important for us to have a majority that's part of the mandate of the fund, but it is equally important for the operating partners to retain a very significant percent of the business when they partner with us. That creates a natural alignment right off the bat. So they think like we do and we think like they do. It also means that we can rely on them to operate the business. We're not worrying about what's the guy doing with my business. It's a very different dynamic. It's what he's been doing with his business all the way, hasn't changed. So we are investors in the business. We're comfortable that he or she is a significant shareholder in the business continues to be, and is doing everything that they can to make sure that the business continues to operate and grow. And what we're doing is providing some of the help that can go along the way with growth capital that may be required, new contracts that they may be going after, but it's certainly not to run the business on a day-to-day basis. Joint ownership of the business means that our interests are perfectly aligned. And then on top of that, they look after the day-to-day operations of the business, and we look at more of the strategic back office support of the business.
Thanks, Oliver. That really shows the alignment from our investors through to Newlook, through to our operating partners, where we all share in the success of the business.